Hello, writers, and welcome back to Spooky Writes. My name's Kemal Onor, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking all about how to navigate the line between purple and beige prose. So let's head into the storm and get into it.
Okay, right.
So I'm going to start off by defining purple prose because I feel it's the easiest to understand. So purple prose is going to be defined typically of the Victorian era. If you think about authors like Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, all these authors, very much thinking about their language being overly flowery. So as an author, you want to use imagery to evoke emotions in your writing, but you don't want to go over the top with descriptive language. An example of this might be spending pages and pages on describing the flutter of a butterfly wing or the dust as it slowly wafts through the air, and just using overly poetic language to describe something simple. The light, for example, you might say something like, the light shone with the hot intensity of 1,000 suns, burning 1,000,000 pieces of bacon into a crisp as they boiled over the sea, with the fish as they jumped over the waves, cascading and rolling in a torrential downpour of blazing light. So that's an example of using overly flowery language to describe something that you could say in much simpler words. You might say, the light shone through the window, right? You don't need to have all that excess flowery language, but this is something that is very typical of Victorian era literature. And as modern authors, we want to try and navigate a line between what I've just defined as purple prose and that of beige prose. So getting into beige prose is going to be the opposite end of the spectrum, where purple prose is going to be exceptionally flowery with your descriptions, using excessive amount of similes, metaphors, and an excessive amount of detail within your writing. Beige is going to be the opposite end of that spectrum. Beige prose are going to be prose that are going to be very terse. They're not going to have a whole lot of description whatsoever. Now, as a modern author, you need to figure out a line between these two. It's sort of a balancing act within your prose, within your writing. You don't want to be overly descriptive to the point where it's detracting from the immediate action within the writing. You also don't want to be so terse that there is no emotion, that there's nothing evoked for the reader. You very much want to walk a line between beige and purple prose, and a great way to understand and a great way to get that voice into your head is to read a lot of modern authors. It is important to read the classics, but at a certain point you need to be reading authors who are more modern and more contemporary in their approach to literature, and get away from the Victorian era language that is used, talking about the field was pregnant with the ripe birth of the coming harvest, and you very much need to read more modern authors if this is something that you are struggling with, of having your language being overly flowery, or if your language is being overly short and terse and leaning more towards the beige kind of prose. So it's very much a balancing act between what is enough language to describe something and what is too little language to describe something. And finding a nice balance between those two is important to your development as an author, to your development as a writer. So that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep it spooky.